One of the most notable painters who left a significant impact in the American Midwest during the 20th century is Grant Wood. Wood gained renown for his distinctive role in shaping regionalism, a movement that emerged as a response to the United States' reliance on European modern art in the years between both world wars. And much like his fellow regionalists, Wood employed a meticulous and refined painting style that echoed the time-honoured traditional values prevalent in the small towns of America. During his journeys to Europe, spanning from the years of 1920 to 1926, he was exposed to the intricately detailed realism seen in the 15th century Flemish paintings, alongside the artworks from the contemporary German Renaissance. Merging these influences with his unique portrayals of rural America, he gained the moniker the Hans Memling of the American Midwest. Undoubtedly, Wood's magnum opus is American Gothic, a work that stands among the most remarkable portrait paintings of its era. Much like the Mona Lisa, it retains an aura of mystery, yet it has evolved into an emblem of 20th century American art, and stands as one of the most supreme masterpieces of Midwest Americana. Grant DeVolson Wood was born on a rural Iowan farm, located 6.4 kilometers east of the city of Anamosa, on February 13, 1891, to Hattie Diet Weaver Wood and Frances Maryville Wood. Following his father's passing in 1901, his mother relocated the family to the city of Cedar Rapids, and for the majority of his life, Wood would call Iowa his home and dedicated himself to teaching art in Cedar Rapids. Shortly after this move, Wood embarked on his journey as an apprentice at a local metal shop. Upon completing his studies at Washington High School, he took a step further by enrolling in the Handicraft Guild, an art school exclusively operated by women, located in Minneapolis in 1910. As World War I drew near its conclusion, Wood enlisted in the US military, and during his service, he utilised his artistic skills to create camouflage and other forms of artwork. Between 1919 and 1925, he assumed the role of an art instructor for junior high school students within the Cedar Rapids public school system. This job granted him financial stability, and its cyclical nature allowed for summer excursions to Europe for art studies. During the years spanning from 1922 to 1935, Wood resided with his mother in the loft of a carriage house located in Cedar Rapids. He transformed this space into his personal studio, famously known as 5 Turner Alley, an address he assigned himself as the studio had no official address. From 1922 to 1928, Wood embarked on 4 separate journeys to Europe, immersing himself in the study of various painting styles, particularly Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. However, it was the artistic legacy of the 15th century Flemish painter Jan van Eyck that left a mark on him, inspiring him to adopt the meticulous clarity of this technique and incorporate it into his forthcoming creations. In the summer of 1930, Edward Rowan, a youthful gallery director hailing from Cedar Rapids, undertook the task of promoting the realm of fine arts in the rural town of Eldon. The town of Eldon, approximately 130 kilometers away from Cedar Rapids, witnessed Rowan's endeavors as he inaugurated a gallery and library while also leading art classes. It was this successful venture, coupled with Wood's sense of obligation towards Rowan, that ultimately drew the artist to Eldon. In August 1930, Wood found himself being chauffeured around the town by a local young artist named John Sharp, who was a native of Eldon. Their purpose was to seek out artistic inspiration, and amidst this exploration, Wood's attention was captured by the Dibble House, a modest white residence constructed in the architectural style known as Carpenter Gothic. In a recollection from 1973, Sharp's brother suggested that it was during this particular drive that Wood, utilising the back of an envelope, potentially made his initial sketch of the house. Although Wood didn't perceive the house as inherently beautiful at first glance, he did find it distinctively captivating. His earliest biographer, Darrell Garwood, noted that Wood, quote, thought it a form of borrowed pretentiousness, a structural absurdity to put a Gothic-style window in such a flimsy frame house. At the time, Wood classified it as one of the, quote, cardboardy frame houses on Iowa farms, and considered it, quote, very paintable. Having secured permission from the house's proprietors, Selma Jones Johnston and her family, Wood embarked on the following day to create a sketch of the house. Positioned in the front yard of the house, he used oil on paperboard as his medium. This initial sketch portrayed a roof with a steeper incline, in a window that was longer and more pronounced in its ogive shape compared to the actual house. These distinctive elements, as it turns out, would find their way into the final composition. However, it wasn't until Wood returned to Cedar Rapids that he incorporated figures into his sketch. Interestingly, despite this artistic journey, Wood would never step foot in Eldon again for the remainder of his lifetime. Nevertheless, he did reach out to request a photograph of the house, a resource he needed to complete his painting. Nonetheless, Wood decided to paint the house along with, in his words, quote, the kind of people fancied should live in that house. The artwork portrays a mature couple, often interpreted as a farmer alongside his wife or daughter positioned before their dwelling, a wooden farmhouse constructed in the architectural style of the 1890s known as Carpenter or American Gothic. As mentioned before, Wood's inspiration for the farmhouse stemmed from the Dibble House in Eldon. For the female figure, he enlisted the assistance of his sister, Nan Wood Graham, who posed as the model. She was adorned in a colonial print apron, designed to evoke the essence of 20th century rural Americana. During the preparatory phase, Wood made a specific request for Nan to craft the apron herself, and incorporate rickrack trim to capture the appropriate time period. However, due to the unavailability of rickrack trim in stores, Nan ingeniously repurposed trim for their mother Hattie's old dresses to adorn the apron instead. On the other hand, the male figure in the painting was embodied by none other than the Woods family dentist, Dr. Byron McKeeby, who hailed from Cedar Rapids. Contrary to popular belief, the individuals portrayed in the painting are not a married couple, but rather a father and daughter. Nan, the female model, conveyed that her brother's original concept was to depict them as a father and daughter, not a husband and wife. This perspective was reaffirmed by Wood himself in a letter addressed to a Mrs. Nellie Sudduth in 1941, quote, "The prim lady with him is his grown-up daughter." Bearing a striking resemblance to the archetypal depiction of Midwest rural residents, complete with a pitchfork and dungarees, the artwork provoked numerous art critics to interpret it as a satirical commentary on the culture of small towns. This interpretation ignited a firestorm of protest when a reproduction of the image surfaced in the pages of the Cedar Rapids Gazette. Readers were incensed by Wood's portrayal of the figures as stern-faced, almost puritanical of individuals. However, the reality was that Wood conceived American Gothic as an affirming declaration of traditional American values, a gesture of reassurance during the onset of the Great Depression. Within the sturdy, expertly crafted wooden abode, the two individuals embody a steadfastness grounded in their down-to-earth qualities of resilience, fortitude and pride. Thus, they symbolise those most likely to weather the hardships of the 1930s. Coincidentally, encouraged in part by Wood's close connections with populist Midwestern painters like Thomas Hart Benton and John Stewart Curry, public sentiment rallied in support of the painting. Ultimately, it transformed into an iconic visual testament to the spirit of American pioneer culture. The values upheld by Wood are subtly referenced throughout the composition. The man's presence with a pitchfork and dressed in overalls embodies the ethos of manual labour, while the woman's colonial print apron serves as a representative emblem of the 19th century American heritage. The porch, adorned with flowers and plants, the plants being mother-in-law's tongue and beefsteak begonia, which also appear in Wood's 1929 portrait of his mother, Woman with Plants, signifies the realms of domestic cultivation and small-scale farming. However, the emotions etched onto the couple's faces convey a more nuanced message. Their expressions imply a life characterized by stoicism and a certain lack of exuberance, occasionally punctuated by a touch of evangelical piety, as if drawn from the pages of the Bible. Adding to the enigmatic quality of the piece is a sense of restrained formality. The woman's somber black dress and brooch, the man's deep blue jacket and cleanly shaven visage, the drawn curtains at the window, and the pristine tines of the fork, collectively, these elements bestow upon the work a slightly surreal aura, a departure from the other iconic depictions of interior America. Regardless, the painting is meticulously orchestrated. Firstly, it's marked with an intricate interplay of vertical and horizontal lines, juxtaposed alongside the crescent of the woman's apron, the rounded silhouettes of the trees, the design of the apron itself, as well as the man's circular spectacles and buttons on his vest. Alongside this, the prongs of the pitchfork align with the window bars of the farmhouse and the seams of the farmer's dungarees. The Gothic window's form resonates with the contours of the farmer's visage, particularly the nose and mouth. Likewise, the inverted V of the roof finds its counterpart in the white collar of the woman. In 1932, Wood played a pivotal role in establishing the Stone City art colony near his hometown, as a response to helping artists during the Great Depression. He also emerged as a fervent advocate for regionalism within the arts, imparting lectures on the subject across the nation. From 1934 to 1941, Wood took on the role of a painting instructor at the University of Iowa's School of Art. During that period, he oversaw many painting projects, provided guidance to students, generated a diverse array of his own artistic creations, and emerged as an integral part of the university's cultural fabric. Beyond his artistic endeavours, Wood also displayed a strong affiliation with Freemasonry and held membership in the Mount Hermon Lodge, No. 263, located in Cedar Rapids. Between 1935 and 1938, Wood married Sarah Sherman Maxson. However, their friends perceived this marriage as a mistake for Wood. Concealing his true sexual orientation, Wood was a closeted homosexual, and during this time, a colleague named Lester Longman launched an unsuccessful attempt to have him dismissed from his position, citing explicit moral concerns and its advocacy of regionalism. Despite the accusations, the university administration rebuffed them, and Wood would have continued as a professor had it not been for his worsening health issues. On the eve of his 51st birthday, Wood passed away at Iowa City University Hospital due to pancreatic cancer, and his final resting place is Riverside Cemetery in Anamosa, Iowa. Following Wood's death, his estate was bequeathed to his sister, Nan Wood Graham, the very woman depicted in American Gothic. After Nan's passing in 1990, her estate, including Wood's personal belongings and an assortment of artworks, found a home at the Fig Art Museum in Davenport, Iowa. American Gothic received its inaugural showcase in 1930 at the Art Institute of Chicago, where it still resides to this day. The painting garnered a $300 prize and generated headlines across the nation, catapulting Wood into the spotlight and establishing his immediate recognition. Since then, the painting has been continuously borrowed and playfully satirized in advertisements and cartoons. However, it has also emerged as the quintessential representation of 20th century American art, attaining the rare distinction of being a widely recognized cultural icon, akin to the status of Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa and Edvard Munch's The Scream. Between 2016 to 2017, the painting left its home in Chicago and was exhibited internationally, finding a home on the walls of the Musée d'Orangerie in Paris and the Royal Academy of Arts in London, marking its first debut showing outside the United States. This has been me, Jack, and shout out to all the people from Iowa.